Hey guys, before we start this episode, I wanted to talk to you about Type 1 Lifting. So Type 1 Lifting is a clothing line that proceeds of the shirts and tanks and everything else goes to the Children's Diabetes Foundation. So this all came about with me and seeing a 5-year-old girl in the emergency department that had new onset of diabetes. So just take a look at the website. It's www.type1lifting.com. So just check it out. If you don't buy anything, that's perfectly fine. I would just like for you just to take a look and just see what we have. So like I said before, www.type1lifting.com. And guys, I hope you enjoy the show. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Liftoff. Thank you for tuning in. In this episode, we have some CrossFit news and me switching programs and just a couple of things on what's going on in my life. So the big news that happened over the weekend, Matt Fraser was on a podcast and one of the hosts asked Matt about Rich Froning. And so he said on the podcast that Rich hasn't contacted him in 2.5 years. I guess, they were kind of got the cold shoulder, and Tia went to the gym at one time where, he was going to train at the gym, and he said they weren't, Rich said that they didn't have anybody, and when Tia got there to pick up some equipment, the whole team was there on Rich's side, and so that kind of put everything on the table of like not being friends. And so after that, Matt actually went to his neighbor and told him that here's the keys. If anything, if something comes in, packages coming, just leave it at the door. So, and he kind of left. And so, huge news that came out. Everyone was talking about this story. All of YouTube, all of other podcasts and everything. And then Rich Froning posted a video a couple days later talking about his side of the story, because obviously if you get one side of the story, there's always another side of the story. So I like to hear both sides. So Rich was saying he didn't really want to train with Matt because he couldn't do a lot of the things that Matt was doing because he had arthritis in his knee and he wasn't able to squat heavy, so he couldn't do a lot of the things that Matt was doing. So that's why they didn't train. And also he said that he's texted Matt a couple times, and pretty much it was just a lack of communication with each other. So, someone sees one thing and doesn't say anything, and then they interpret it one way, and so then they just think that's that, and just don't move forward with trying to talk to him and ask him what the situation is. And now the day before I talk about this, Matt Fraser and Rich Froning have a picture on Instagram on both their pages, shaking hands, saying that it's all good, they're fine. And it's funny, a lot of the people are saying on YouTube or podcasts that, why would you want to have two alpha males training together? And I kind of understand that, but you kind of want two alpha males anyway to train. I would want another alpha male to train with me just so I can get better. So, but everything's all good. They're both happy, and so I'm kind of happy about that. And they can kind of get together and do some programming or do some things on social media and stuff that I would like to see. So, the next topic I have is the Clydesdales Fitness and Friends podcast just hit 100 episodes. So I've actually had the host of the Clydesdale Fitness and Friends on my podcast. His name's Scott Schweitzer, the nicest guy ever. And I do envy him because he has some amazing guests and he does a lot of research on his guests, in which I'm trying to work on as well. But I would love this podcast to be kind of that, interviewing CrossFit athletes as well as diabetics as well, because it is a diabetes podcast, and I would love to get to the high-level CrossFit athletes. I've had one on here, so and I'm Griffin Raleigh, which I'm truly grateful. He was an amazing guest too. Kelly Wild, and I just want to get some more CrossFit athletes in here because that's what I like to do. So it's cool because he actually has 3 other guests that kind of come on sporadically. There's 2 girls on there that come on continually, and there's one guy that's comes on the show once in a while as a co-host. So I would love to have that, but it's just a timing thing for a lot of the people. Originally, this podcast was going to be the CPB podcast, competitive fitness, powerlifting, and bodybuilding. So I had one of my friends is a powerlifter, one of my other friends is a bodybuilder. We would have gotten together and just talk about fitness in general and interview other people. So, but obviously, trying to arrange my schedule, which is absolutely insane, and then other people's schedule, it's just really, really hard to do. So that's why I kind of went on my own and made it the Type 1 Lifting Podcast. So, but like I said, if you have a chance to listen to his podcast, awesome. His guests are great, and just give him a great review too. So, and that's one podcast I would love to get to that level of interviews and everything. I'm not saying my past guests were bad. I loved every one of them. I just want to get, I would love to get the top 25 CrossFit athletes or people that are well known in the CrossFit community. So just be on the lookout. I have a couple people coming in. Hopefully, cross my fingers that they will come in. The next thing is I'm going to be switching programs. I know right before the Open, I know it's not the best time to do it, but I believe that I think if I want to ramp up and get better, I think this is the time to do it. So I was doing comp train for a while. I was on the free section of it. It's great, but they always keep on switching stuff around. I get logged out and then logged back in that I can't get back to the, let's just say I didn't do Wednesday's workout and it's Thursday. So I try to get back on Wednesday and they won't let me get back on it. So, I've had some big gains on comp train. I've been doing it for probably like 2 or 3 years. Well, actually, no, 2 years, I think. Great programming, but I'm actually switching to Misfit Athletics. They have a $10 a month program. Before that, they had a free website, and I did it 2 summers ago, and I was in the best shape of my life. Granted, I was training in the hot Georgia heat in my basement with no AC. It was hot, but I felt the fittest ever. So I'm going back to their programming, and they also have a podcast as well that talk about each cycle that they have. So if someone has a question, or they maybe they put their 2 cents on what you should be doing for this section of the cycle and this section of the cycle. So I'm looking forward to getting back on that, and and we'll see what happens. And so the last part is podcast failure. So I was interviewing someone for a podcast. I had my computer ready to rock and roll. I was in the middle of my recording. I think I was 25 minutes in, and this computer is really old, and so it just completely just shit the bed on me and actually froze. The internet came off, and I wasn't able to finish the podcast because of this computer being so old, and there's no updates for it, and so it's just an absolute disaster. So I felt really bad. I texted the person that I did the interview with, and I told them, and trying to reschedule. Hopefully I can get it done soon, but we'll see what happens. And so the main goal for my podcast for this year is to update everything, my computer, the sounds, and pretty much everything I could possibly do to make the sound quality for you guys to listen a lot better, because obviously if you have crap quality sound, no one's going to listen to your podcast. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm kind of searching to see where it's like looking at information reviews for different computers and sound systems and stuff like that too. So I actually did get a Zoom H5 handy recorder from Christmas for my wife. I'm really interested. I'm reading in on that right now, and I'm looking forward to use that as well. So we'll see what happens. So if you guys have any questions for me later on down the road, I'm actually going to start posting more questions on Instagram. So if you guys leave a comment on the story, if you have a question for me about anything diabetes or fitness related, please, just give me a shout out and I will put it on the podcast. And so just to give you my 2 cents, and I will do a lot of research on these too as well. So if I don't know the answer, I will definitely review it online to see what other people say about it and kind of put my thoughts into it as well. So thank you for tuning in today. So I hope you have a great rest of the week, and I will see you next week.